Okay, awesome. Um, does someone want to say the prayer?
Yeah,
Cool.
I'll say it. Our dear, kind, and gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so very much for this wonderful day and for all the many gifts that we've been given. And Father, we ask that thou will bless us, that we may be able to have our minds prepared to discuss the things of this course and of this meeting and of our case study. And Father, please bless that we'll be able to keep our spirit with thee during this recording and during the rest of this week. And Father, we love thee so very much, and we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so just a summary of the case. um, so is it RSH? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if I was getting the letters mixed up. They had a senior analyst that left for another opportunity, and were trying to fill that void. They had a junior analyst that was kind of being a band-aid for a little bit, in taking over that role while they decided what they were going to do, whether hire someone else or, well, I guess, and if they were going to let Peter Thompson just go, or counteroffer maybe. And then they went through the interview process, through the headhunter, narrowed it down to 4 people that they met with, and then they met with everyone at the corporate level, got to know each of them, kind of got to know their strengths and how they might fit in, what weaknesses and strengths that each of them had, and then it was decision time. So I guess first we'll discuss the pros and cons for each candidate. So first, I guess we can start with Rena Shea. I think that was an interesting thing. I just feel like so many people were against it that Connor couldn't really choose her. To me, they almost made it sound like it was like a joke that she could fill that position.
I agree.
Like, he would be really sticking his neck out if he were to hire her. But she seemed like a quick learner and that she was doing things pretty well. And another thing that helps her is I think they had a great culture with their company, how the junior level analysts were encouraged to ask the seniors for advice, and the seniors would teach them and help them learn. So that's kind of what I got from Rena. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that she has really great potential, but I do kind of see what they're saying as well, with that she needs more experience before taking on a project of such great magnitude.
Yeah.
Well, and as a self-proclaimed introvert, I figured, what kind of analysts, you've got to be able to meet with people very well and articulate yourself. That was negative for her.
Hey, Gramp, your microphone's kind of cutting out a little bit.
Sorry, I am at a big function for the school, and so
Gotcha.
I didn't want to miss the call.
I'll add to that. I think that she had potential. I just think that if he was going to go with her as his choice, he just needed to say it from the very beginning and go with it and support her. And, I think everybody might have gotten behind it at that point. But just the idea that she was possibly, transitional and he was possibly looking for someone else, I don't know that she ever stood a chance, with people kind of waiting for the star to come in.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else about her? Does someone want to talk about Gerald Baum?
Yeah, so the interesting about all of them, of course, they all had master's degrees, except for one. I think it didn't quite specify if he actually had a master's, but Gerald was, of course, he's currently a senior analyst with a different company. He's kind of in that realm of being a star already, and so he was moving up real quick in the semiconductor field, which is exactly what they're looking for, because that'd be the only semiconductor senior analyst they had. Mm-hmm. And so he was ranked like 11th in that II book. and he'd only been doing it for 18 months, so that's pretty dang good. And then, of course, he was really smart in the electronics and the electronic connectors. He also seemed like he had, for negatives, it seemed like he had commitment issues. He tended to move quite a bit, not spend too much time at one company. And he wasn't used to working in a team. And the teams that he did work with, the feedback on him was that he was extremely rude to him and didn't treat him well. So that was another negative for him. And he's super competitive. And in that environment or that culture of RHS, I don't think that would have fit too well. And then, of course, he wasn't punctual to his meeting, which is never a good thing, especially when it's a job interview. And then, of course, the first thing and all his questions had to do with money. So obviously, he was money driven.
You basically hit everything I thought. I mean, being late, it happens. Obviously, you shouldn't, but I mean, at least apologize and be respectful of the person's time. And I mean, that doesn't like make up for it, but it shows something. Yeah, he definitely had problems with people. He wasn't like a problem solver. Like the copier thing that they were talking about, I mean, that was just ridiculous that he wouldn't just get a new copier. He could call someone to come in and fix it, but he just waited for other people to do it. And the other thing was that when he like almost bragged about firing someone in the middle of a presentation, like in front of a client, I was like just shocked by that.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I kind of cut both Jared and the other guy out of my case studies completely because I thought that both of them were not very good candidates. I thought that it was mostly between Rena and Seth, in my opinion. But yeah, I completely agree with that. I thought that guy was really sketchy. I thought that he didn't really care about the work. He cared about the pay, you know? And that's the sort of thing that it's kind of like an awkward thing to bring up, first of all, in an interview. That's the sort of thing where like once you're hired, that's when you can discuss that sort of thing. So it's kind of disrespectful to immediately bring that up.
Yeah,
right, at least until you're offered, at least.
Yeah.
Well, it's really odd. Like companies have different ways that go about the money talk. Like I had an interview for a job a little bit ago that I didn't know what the pay or what their offer was as far as like I guess how much they were willing to spend for that position. And I interviewed, and then they asked me like how much I would need or want. And I don't know, that put me in a really weird position, I thought, because I was like, well, I guess yeah, I don't know. That was weird.
Did you shoot for the stars?
I didn't. I mean, I was pretty much right what they were thinking, so it worked out.
That's good.
Yeah. A little higher, but yeah, it worked out. Okay, David Hughes. What do you guys think?
So David was, which one was he again? He was the
He was like a little bit older. He had
been in it for a while and
almost overqualified.
Yeah, almost overqualified. I could see that. I think I could see him being in Steven's position. You know,
Right.
I don't really know. I don't really know how I want to go about approaching that. I thought that he was pretty decent overall, but I thought that there was, out of Seth and Rena, they were better options. They fit the culture much better.
Sorry, I'm step away really quick. Who are we talking about now?
We're talking about David Hughes.
David.
Okay, the older gentleman.
Correct.
Okay.
So just we're probably gonna are we gonna discuss who we actually picked later on?
Yeah, so we're just analyzing each person and then we'll discuss who we pick.
Okay. I mean, I'll analyze David again if you want me to. I don't care.
I can talk about it. I mean, he was loyal. He was at his last place for a long time. To me, he likes to train. I mean, he said he has no problem, like, and he wants to help other people learn, and to share things that he's learned in his long time. But there were some things I didn't like about him, which were, well, number one, he asked about the pay too, but he wanted like a lot of freedom and his own schedule, and
Oh yeah, that guy.
it was almost like he was. I think of sports because I'm a sports guy, but it was almost like a player in baseball that announces his retirement before the season's over, and it's like a farewell tour, and they're just going around, and he's just like, "This is it. See you guys." And it seemed like he was kind of on his way out the door, anyways, just towards retirement, which I didn't like, and they didn't really like it because they didn't think that he would bring the energy that he needed for that position.
And the commitment, because I mean, if he's just mostly focused on pay, then it kind of gave me the sense that he was just mostly focusing on like, how much more money can I get before I retire? Was kind of the feeling that I got from that reading.
Yeah, and that like he didn't leave his vacation when a thing came up, which
like can be understandable in certain situations, but when it's such a high priority thing, I think that's when you just got to give it up,
Yeah, I mean, if he's in Mexico or something, yeah, it's a little tougher, but
if he's just like, yeah.
I really liked him, all except for the fact that it just seemed that nobody could get over where he was at in his career. How much longer would he be able to keep up his high energy? And I think a lot of what I can't remember the guy's name who was actually interviewing all these people, but
Steven.
Sorry?
Yeah, Steven.
Steven. So whenever Steven was considering other people, he was always thinking, well, how committed are they going to be? Like, how long are they going to be here? We have this culture of like low turnover and people stay a long time. And that was always a concern for him. So I felt like David was a really strong
applicant.
He came with a lot of experience and wisdom, and he was ready to work, but it just seems that maybe he wasn't going to be the best choice for Steven at this time.
Yeah.
Just based on, kind of being at the tail end of his career and Steven really looking for someone that was going to be able to commit for a while.
cool. And okay, Sonia Mitha. Sonia. And
Yes, Sonia.
Sonia.
Well, so Sonia, she's also another senior analyst, so she's on that same understanding, except she's coming from a boutique, which is basically a lot smaller. They deal with less people, smaller companies. But she was awarded the up and coming ranking in the II, so that was great. She also had a lot of global mindedness with her. She wanted to expand globally, which seemed to be something that they're interested in. She was an excellent communicator, and she was really good in her research that she did do. And of course, she was coming from a place where she didn't have any assistants or juniors, so she's basically a one-woman show. She said she does exquisite reports, which is always good. She was also tech savvy, which some of the other candidates, especially David, wasn't interested in. She also seemed to be like she would fit well in the culture. But her biggest drawbacks, of course, she wanted a lot of flexibility also, because she had 2 kids and she didn't want to travel at all if she didn't have to.
Yeah.
But she was also willing to set up alternatives like chat groups and stuff like that, or have a big meeting at one central location for everybody to join.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she doesn't have much notoriety, what she may need in some of those bigger companies just to actually talk to anybody, and she didn't have many contacts coming from such a small boutique. So that's what I had for her.
Yeah, but what I liked about her though was her enthusiasm. Coming from a smaller place, and she had limited resources. She's by the way she reacted, she seemed like she knew how to manage a team and use other people's abilities. To what's the word I'm looking for? To supplement what she brought to the table, which I thought was awesome. And she wanted the growth and the technology, like you said, that that she just didn't have there. So I like that aspect, that she was excited to learn and be able to do more, because I think she almost felt like she was at her limit where she was at that time. So that's kind of what I thought on her. She would have had a tough time traveling too, is one thing that they mentioned. But I also liked that she asked about the culture. That was her first question, is the culture. Will she not only will the company like her and how she is, but will she fit in with what the company expects and how they run everything?
So,
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go first. You're fine.
So she actually was my choice. I'm glad Zach brought up some of her better qualities. One of the things that really stands out to me is like a first impression. And what I liked about her was the initial interview was just, there was so much connection between her and Steven. And, you know, she was asking so many interesting questions. You could feel her passion, her desire to grow. And on that other reading, that supplemental reading that we had that talked about, like, I think it was the portability of different qualities in people. One of them was resourcefulness. And I just felt, you know, she's someone who has done above and beyond with what she's been given. And if she's taken to the next level, she's given more tools. She's given, you know, her own assistant, things like that. Like, I think she even mentioned in her interview, like, oh, I could do so much with that. You know, like she already had ideas of how she was going to grow herself. And then she kind of seemed to me to be the one that integrated herself into the culture immediately. You know, she was asking, who can I talk to? I want to talk to other women who are doing great jobs as analysts. And she really just kind of got her foot in the door, in my opinion, and left like a really great impression. And I just thought she had incredible potential. So I chose her.
Yeah, I think she was really good. I think that her biggest downfall, though, is the lack of enterprise experience. Because, I mean, at least in the field of IT, which is what I'm in, you can do a lot of small grade work, and that can look pretty good. But when compared to somebody who has the experience of an enterprise and of such high level work, it's really two different ball games. Because what RSH is looking for is somebody who's like available, ready, and kind of, I don't know how to really put it. They're looking for somebody who's gonna devote a lot more of themselves and their time to that sort of work than I think she was going to be able to provide, because of the constraints with her children. And
I do see those points, and that was definitely part of my consideration. I just thought she had done so much to prove that, like, she could balance like her work and home life. And you know, she got such great feedback from her interviews within the corporation, and people saying, you know, she really knows what she's talking about. She really knows how to sell her ideas and stuff like that. But yeah, that is a concern. Like, it's going from one world to a whole bigger world, and there's always that fear of, is this person going to be able to adjust? But that's where I think, you know, her resourcefulness would have been her greatest strength.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Okay, cool. And the last one is Seth. Does anyone want to take a whack at him?
Well, first of all, I guess I'll start off. Seth was my choice. I thought that he would have the most potential in RSH. Having been with another company for 15 years, he shows dedication. He has contacts, so he's ready to move into the semiconductor business. He seems eager to learn. However, he is a runner-up, so he isn't like the star, which is what they were looking for. But I still think he's a great option. Besides that, trying to think of like the other things that he had going for him as well. I think that overall he just had a really great attitude and vibe, and he was just ready to get to work and ready to help grow the company.
Well, and he was extremely flexible. I mean, he was willing to, since he got divorced in his last job because of that.
Yeah.
He was extremely open and could travel at any time and work 16 hours. So, yeah.
And he showed that in the last company too, which I think with such a high level job or high level project is what RSH could really use in that time.
Of course, the bonus is that he has really good connections with the Power Chip, which is the main target of their.
Yeah.
They want.
One thing that I felt about him was he almost felt unappreciated and undervalued at his last company, which, I mean, maybe he was, but I feel like that is such a negative thing to feel, and I think that can be a cancer to everyone around you when you don't feel appreciated and you don't feel like they really care if you're there or not. I think that's a really negative attitude. Did you guys feel that at all?
I do see that for sure. But I also think that he was kind of sharing that because he felt that RSH would be a better fit for him, because RSH had shown in the past to other people that they are very aware of each employee, you know? Like,
right.
I mean,
and he was
just with Steven talking to Rena, Steven was saying, I really value you. Don't think that I don't. And even if I end up hiring somebody else, I'm still going to find something for you.
Right.
Yeah. But like, what if he gets to that place though, where he just doesn't feel like he can grow anymore? Is that going to be an issue?
Yeah, that's completely valid.
Right. I mean, it's a different opportunity and everything, and maybe it will take 15 years, which if you can keep an employee for 15 years, that's a really long time, and your turnover is low. But I guess it would just depend when would he get there.
Yeah.
One thing I was wondering about him, and I thought he was a super strong choice. I was kind of going back and forth between him and Sonia, but one thing I kept thinking was why if he has done such a stellar job and he's been with them so long and he feels so underappreciated, what is it on the other end that they're not willing to do everything that they can to keep him? Like, it seems like he's just ready to walk away, and why is that? And so then I think that kind of pushed me over the edge on Sonia, because I thought, another concern of Steven's is that he's trying to find someone that's not going to cost an arm and a leg to move over. And so if this guy's, put in 15 years over there and he's unhappy, dissatisfied, and he really wants to be valued, how much more, is it going to cost to keep him happy than it would for, maybe someone else?
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
My biggest red flag with him was, why didn't he show up on Craig's shortlist?
Yeah.
That was my biggest concern with him, and why I didn't go with. I actually thought he was pretty dang good, but that was my biggest red flag right there.
Yeah.
See, that didn't really bother me. I mean, maybe one headhunter just doesn't see people only sees people from certain places, certain companies. So that didn't bother me a ton. But, okay, let's move on. We should probably try and speed up. We're a a little behind. Okay, so who would you hire and why? We've kind of you, Kian, and Valerie, you each kind of shared who you chose and why. So I guess if you want to say more about it, you can. I also chose Seth. I like that he's loyal. I like that he had been there for 15 years. He had good performance. It seemed like his personality was good for his clients, and they liked him. He was excited for work, and I also liked that he had goals to become the best, which you need that. But I feel like he also had a plan in place to reach that goal, and that's important. I mean, if you can have a goal and just if you don't have a plan, it's not going anywhere. And that's what I liked about him. And the last thing about him was it seemed to me like he understood that for him to be successful, everyone else had to be successful as well. And that's a big deal when it comes to, I guess, everyone succeeding and everyone living up to the culture that they had put in place.
Yeah.
Just real quickly, I actually chose David, and the reason was, of course, Steven's boss wasn't concerned about money, and his equals and the hiring manager, or anyway, the three other guys that sent him the email about Rena, really were looking for a star, and he was clearly a star. Clearly is. I mean, he's got some concerns. He may be burnt out, but he may just need a change. He may have just been bored. So I ended up going with David because of the three, or I don't know. So Steven asked when he was the headhunter, he gave out some specific things he was looking for, and David was actually the only one that fit every single one of those things. Money was never brought up, so I mean, I know Steven didn't want to spend a ton of money, but his boss said go spend whatever it takes. So he wanted a market analyst who had industry knowledge, which he did. He was a good writer. He was client oriented. In fact, they called him rare. What was it? Rare interpersonal skills. And then also they wanted someone to have access to upper management at companies, and with his 27 years experience and all those awards he's gotten, he had everything he needed. So that's why I picked him.
Yeah.
Solid points. I really wish we could have known exactly how old he was.
Yeah.
If he was like, late 60s, 70, like, okay, he's whatever. But I mean, was he like 85? Like, I don't know.
I think that the cutoff age that would have been for me for sure would have been at max like 62.
Well, and I don't think he was that old. He graduated in 78. And
his master's or
with his master's, but they talked about people burning out in their late 40s. So
yeah, I mean, because this
probably
is
right around there, maybe 50. So I mean, of course, in that field, that's old because of the high stress demand.
Yeah.
I'm grateful I'm not an analyst.
And I do have one thing to add with my choice. I realize I'm super biased. I am a woman, and I will be juggling kids at some point, and I'm all about trying to find those opportunities to grow and someone give me a shot kind of thing. So anyway, that probably played a whole ton into my reasoning.
I honestly would have hired her. She was so enthusiastic, so knowledgeable and willing, and from what she had done with just what the resources she had, I mean, she would have been given all these resources and done amazing.
Yeah.
But I mean, the specific things that were set out, that's the reason I picked David. That's the only reason.
Good choice.
And she came in like for the meeting with was it people in China that she met with? I thought that was kind of cool. She was I wrote at the bottom that if for some reason Seth were to decline the offer or not be available for some reason, that she'd be the next one hired. So
Yeah.
If that counts for anything. Okay. Here's the next thing. So I'll just share this with you guys. So there's a table here. It says the candidate, their current salary, what their salary would be at RSH, and then their multiplier over Rena's salary. So how much more they would make than her. So,
Most expensive, I'm sure.
so I'll start with Rena. Her current salary is 0.3 million. Her salary at RSH would be 0.3 million. So her multiplier is 1 times because that is her salary. Sonia, her current salary is 0.4. Her salary at RSH would be 0.7. So 2 times more. Seth, his current salary is 0.7. His new salary would be 1 million, and he's 3 times Rena. Gerald is 0.9 million. His salary at RSH will be 1.2, and so that's 4 times. And then David is 1.3 million currently, and it would be 1.5 million, so 5 times. Having said that, would anyone change their mind about who they would hire?
It's just the NBA. You got to look for the good players.
Can you imagine if you made that much money? Oh my heck!
I don't think I.
Now you want to be an analyst?
Kinda. Like high key. I don't think that changes my choice.
Yeah, me neither. I think I would. I mean, my choice was right in the middle, so probably okay. I mean, the only one I guess who maybe would and maybe not, because like LeGrand said, Steven's bosses weren't too worried about money, so that might not have an impact for him either. Okay, should Steven give Rena a permanent offer or hire outside the company?
Hire outside.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about that and we all agreed on it. So, but I think a big part is that he needs her to know not only that she's done a great job and that he's grateful, but that she does have a future with the company and will progress with the company. Just not yet. I think that, like
She did.
He knows that.
And she wasn't going to lose her job. She was just going to be moved to a different department, same as a senior analyst still. So that was pretty nice of him.
Oh,
Yeah.
she was gonna stay as a senior analyst.
Yeah, so he was going to move her to another project that's just a little bit smaller of a team.
That's right. Not quite as.
So she'll still be like the head analyst and like manager.
That's
Yeah,
right.
So
that's
it's still great for her. So that's why I felt more comfortable hiring outside of the company, because she seemed to have been a great personality for the company.
Yeah. Okay, so should
Max
Steven
and Dory.
have let Peter go?
Yes. Because he was really competitive. I feel like that just didn't fit the company very well. Even if he was doing a great job, I don't think that's what the company needed at that time.
Yeah, I forgot. He did have a lot of negative.
I think he should have at least tried to keep him. I mean, he would have had to offer him a raise, obviously. Normally, it's cheaper to keep someone than to have to hire again. Let them get caught up to their new position and all that. But I think if he was such a star and everything was going well, and they were going to spend a lot of money, I would have said at least make a counter offer, but maybe just don't get ridiculous with it. Like maybe not offer 1.5 million like you would to David, but offer something. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree too. I think that I can kind of see that, but I think that eventually he would have like started to clash heads, because it was talking about how a lot of the other people were starting to feel uncomfortable around him and feel like they just were trying to compete with him every time they talked to him. And I feel like that just really grinds the gears of the company. That's just at least my thought.
Yeah, I agree. He was bucking against the culture quite a bit.
Yeah.
A few negatives about him talking about people, and so. But I don't know. I'm on the fence. Either way would have been. I think would have worked out.
Yeah. I mean, then there's not as much pressure in a hire. I mean, you're always scared of what you don't know, and with Peter, you at least know what you're gonna get. You're getting someone who's effective. Well, star is how they describe him.
Yeah.
And when you hire someone else, I mean, obviously there are some good options, but will it pan out exactly how you want it to?
My opinion is that he was kind of already talking to people in the organization that he was leaving. I don't think that was the right way to go about it. Maybe had he approached Steven and talked to him, it would have been like a good opportunity to do that. But then it says he kind of left without any notice, and that's just my personal opinion. Maybe not chasing after him and offering him everything, and how long would that have kept him happy? I think it probably worked out for the best that just cut those losses and find someone new.
Yeah, those are.
Okay. Should Steven have talked with the recruiter to ask about Seth? LeGrand, I'll let you talk about that. You kind of mentioned it.
I 100% agree. I don't know why he didn't. That was really bugging me when I was reading this case study. It's like, why didn't he just ask about it? What's it going to hurt? I mean, he's already on a retainer. He's not going to have to pay more, but he could have at least mentioned it. That would have eased my thoughts about him and totally 100% put me on Seth's page. But that was one of my personal drawbacks.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about it too much. It didn't. I guess it didn't bother me how Seth got thrown into the mix, and obviously he ended up being my pick. But yeah, when I think about it, why not ask the recruiter about him? That doesn't make too much sense.
I know you trust the guy. You've used him for umpteen years, and you've always gotten good results from him. Why not get another opinion? It didn't make sense to me personally. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else have anything to add to that? Or
I agree. I think walking into the interview, he said something about like, "Oh, this is the mystery one." So I just don't think there was any harm in getting a little more information if he could.
Yeah. Cool. Does the performance at one firm guarantee high performance at another firm? This was kind of the question surrounding a few different guys. So I think Seth was the one that was just ranked for the first time in the III, and it took him 15 years. And we mentioned Sonia coming from a boutique and now a large company. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I would say not at RHS. I would say their culture is so teamwork. If you come in just kind of lone wolf and you try to do your own thing, you're not going to have the same success as you might have had at a previous company doing that, just because different companies do things differently, and you would have been moving into a situation where it was super important to be able to collaborate.
Yeah, I completely agree as well. I think that if you're not, if they were to have somebody come in who goes against the culture, that's going to be one of the, that was like the first thing that they talked about in this was the culture. And so if their first focus isn't maintaining that culture, then they can start to lose the culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Everyone's got to buy in.
Yeah.
Yeah, our company had a retreat the last few days, and that was like all we talked about was the culture. And um, if you've read, a lot of you have probably had read Good to Great, and having the right people on the bus. That was like the whole theme of the retreat that we had. So it's important, that's for sure. So, okay. So now it wants us to talk about the different types of human capital. This one mentions a few. So the first one is general human capital. So this is just management skills to gather, cultivate, and deploy financial, technical, and human resources. The next one is strategic human capital, which is expertise gained from experience to be able to create strategies. So that involves like to be able to cut costs, drive growth, or maneuver in cyclical markets. The third one, which I think applies most to this case, is the industry human capital, which is basically knowledge about a certain industry, whether it be certain laws that pertain to your work or anything. I think that was a big thing here. They wanted someone who was familiar with their industry because it would have been hard to come from somewhere else and learn the job plus that. And then you have relationship human capital, which is the portion of a manager's effectiveness stemming from established relationships with other team members or colleagues, which obviously was important too when you talk about Peter and whether they should have kept him or not. I guess he didn't quite have the relationships that he should have had to make them do whatever they could to get him to stay. And then the last one here is the company-specific human capital. So that's just knowing the routines and procedures, as well as the culture and systems that are unique to each company. So,
hey, just sorry, I got to cut off. I'm sorry, I got to help clean up this community event. But good chat. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, see ya.
Sweet guys, thanks.
Yeah, so I mean, do any of you guys have anything to say about that? The different, like, which of those you thought were important in this case, or?
I don't really. I think it's kind of hard for me to gauge exactly what that company needed, but I feel like the high mobility is since they're in such a critical point in their deal with Power Chip or with semiconductor companies. They needed somebody who's going to be able to get in and immediately get to work. You know, not somebody who would get in and have to learn some stuff and then be able to just go and do it. Like it was talking about earlier, and it was saying they needed somebody who could get in and just start making calls and making progress and just immediately, you know?
Yeah, that's I would say the industry human capital. So knowing what was going on in the industry. Cool. Well, that's it for this week. So thanks, guys. Anything else anyone wants to add or here?
I think that's good for me.
Oh, you muted yourself if you're.
Yeah, I wanted to make a general comment. I never get over this. How interesting it is to have 4 or 5 people look at the same material and then come away from it with different perspectives that they can share with each other. And that's one of the great things about these get-togethers. Being able to do that, it's just real interesting to hear different perspectives on this, and I thought it was a very interesting conversation.
Cool. Yeah, that is interesting how everyone has different ideas and gets different perceptions. I mean, a lot of it does depend on how you read different things. But I would say from the classes I've had and group meetings I've had, these are the most stimulating conversations that I've experienced in group work at BYU Idaho.
Especially with an online class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we've talked for an hour and it did not seem like that. So
no.
Yeah,
So in that case, Brother Lampier, what
Yes.
was your choice? Since we each have our own, what's yours as a
okay.
professional?
Well, I'll tell you, I actually lean toward making the offer to David with this provision. He's in the twilight of his career. He's looking at kind of winding down, and I would bring him on for a year, maybe 2 years, on a contract basis, with the express purpose of working closely with Rena to develop her into this senior position.
Oh, I like that.
So he would be her mentor. And I realize he's very expensive, but he also is a big producer. Now that would probably fall off a bit in transferring, but I think he would still significantly contribute to the organization. So that's kind of the direction I would take.
I like that.
I'm going to excuse myself to go to another class meeting, guys, but thank you.
Yeah.
I actually also have to do the same.
All right. Okay.
Good to be with you for a few minutes.
We're at our time. Yeah. Thanks for the Lampier.
All right. It was good talking to you guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.